Welcome to the Lazy CEO Podcast, where Jim Schleckser, author of Great CEOs Are Lazy and founder of the CEO Project, features compelling experts and topics for CEOs of mid to large-size companies. Now, let's get started with the show.
Welcome, everybody, to another Lazy CEO podcast. My name is Jim Schleckser. I am the founder of the CEO Project, and I'm your host today. I've written articles about how to hire A players, and actually even A plus players. And it turns out that one of the secrets on how to hire really top-level performers is to look for exceptionalism elsewhere in their life. And so, that could be, I started a gaming business when I was 14. It could be I had held the collegiate record in the 200-meter butterfly, a race that's been contested for 100 years. But I have to say, there is one thing that would always get my attention, and that is successfully summiting Everest. And it turns out that our current guest successfully did that. Erwin Visser does worldwide business and marketing development for Microsoft. He does a lot of work in migrating people to the cloud, and we're going to talk about that. He does a lot of business development with the largest companies you can name for this global organization. And so he can help us with sort of some of those, how do you win major clients as well. But in addition to that, he has a master's degree in computer science, a bachelor's in mathematics. He has pushed his personal limits as high as they can go, which is to say he has climbed Everest. He also, I think he doesn't like his family. He had his entire family climb Rainier. Now, people don't always come back from Rainier, but apparently they all came back. So welcome, Erwin. We're really glad you're with us. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jim. Yeah.
So you got to start with, what do you do next? You climbed Everest. Now what?
Yeah, that is such a good question. If I ask my wife, she thinks that I should start focusing more on boating and beaches, as we are living now in Florida. But I'm starting to look at my next challenge or the next thing to do. So I'm starting to make some new plans now. Everest is kind of a year ago, so I feel that I'm ready to take on something new.
Got it. So you're going to do the rest of the 7 summits?
I honestly don't know. The 7 summits by itself is not something that I strive for that much. I kind of like doing climbs that are connected to also more of a cultural or country adventure. So there's a few things in South America that I think would be interesting. But the number one on my list would be the Vincent Massif in Antarctica. That is maybe next for me.
Yeah, well, it's actually not that technical a climb. It's just a pain in the butt to get there.
Yeah. It's a pain in the butt to get there, but also the fact that you are I've been in 6 continents now. I would love to hit my next one.
Okay.
The Antarctica seems like an amazing place just to visit once in your life.
Yeah, although I have to argue with your cultural experience. I mean, ice and snow and penguins. I mean, I'm not sure what the cultural experience is there.
No, there's not a lot of culture there. Yeah, so maybe the penguins, but not that much.
Well, let's roll over to the work for a little bit. We'll come back to Everest later. So I sort of briefly talked a little bit about what you do, but give us a little more color around what you actually do for Microsoft.
Yeah, so I run an organization in our partner team at Microsoft for Americas, where I really work with partners to help small, medium, and corporate accounts migrate to the cloud and leverage all our AI technologies.
Got it. Well, that could not be a hotter space, migration to the cloud. Even now, I mean, you'd think, oh, well, everybody's already moved, but that is not the case by a lot. What do you see in terms of trends in cloud migration that would be relevant for CEOs?
Yeah, I think that a lot of customers have moved or are moving because they see the benefits and the opportunities. And I think two drivers are really accelerating cloud migrations at this moment. One is security.
Yeah.
I think that everybody's kind of like a little bit shocked though about all the security issues that we saw over the last 2 years as state-sponsored bad actors that and it's a cloud in general has a significant higher security framework and structure and architecture than I think a lot of the on-prem environments.
Yeah.
The second one that is an accelerator at this moment that we see is AI.
Yeah.
To really benefit AI and to get the value out of it, often it starts with making sure that your data is at one location and in the cloud to make sure you can use the state-of-the-art AI tools to leverage your data environment.
Got it. Yeah. And I can tell you that first one is real. We've had a number of clients that have had attacks, and they are state actors. They are either businesses that are state sanctioned or, blind eye, go ahead and do what you do, right? Or literally sponsored by Russia, China, name the actor if you want to.
Yeah.
And so it's scary as heck. It really is. And the funny thing, well, not funny, but I learned is the decryption process is not perfect. So you go, oh, they said send me $400,000 and they'll decrypt my data, but you don't always get your data back. It's like 90%. It's not perfect.
Well, when you start to get being blackmailed by bad actors, and
Yeah,
you are in a bad situation that you
totally.
are completely dependent on their help to get you out of the situation you are. So it's clearly better to avoid that situation in the first place.
Totally. And we found, cyber insurance isn't the answer either.
Yeah, no, it's true. The thing is that, and we do a lot of research as Microsoft, and we work with other organizations like Canalys to really see what is happening with customers. But it has become a huge economy itself.
Yeah.
The cybersecurity economy, or I would should say, the misuse of customers is the GDP of that business is now almost as big as UK as France and Germany combined. So
Wow.
it's like an $8 trillion business per year.
That's
In
the cyber criminal industry.
cyber criminals, state actors, clearly like organized crime, from the kid in the basement to a lot of organized crime as well as state actor cyber criminals, and it's
Right.
and Microsoft has made cybersecurity our number one priority.
Yeah.
We saw the trend over the last 2-3 years, and a year ago, Satya made a statement that fighting cyber threats and helping our customers to stay safe is the number one priority for everybody in Microsoft.
Nice.
So it has really started to turn the ship that if we don't fix this, like everything is becoming a potential issue or a potential risk for our customers.
Yeah. No, that's good work. I hate the fact that you have to do it. It feels like a massive drag on the economy, trillions of dollars to drag on the economy, and then another
Yes.
few trillions with you guys to prevent the drag on the economy. And there's just no winning this one, unfortunately. Let's move over to AI, which again is just, a white hot topic. What are you seeing in the business environment as some of the successful deployments of AI? Because I've always come in from a position of tell me the business case, tell me the business use case that you're going to solve for. And, there are some that are profound, but many of them are not. So what are you seeing that's really working for people? Like these are really good ones to think about.
Yeah, I think, Jim, what you just said is like spot on. I feel that AI by itself is not a goal.
It's like I've got a hammer. Now what are you going to do? Right?
Yes, exactly. So you really have to look into like what is the opportunity, and it could be different by industry, by vertical, by customer, where you can leverage AI to get specific outcomes. And I think that is when I have a conversation with a customer around AI of our partners, I hope always that they start with like, what is the business case? What is the outcome that we've tried to reach? And then work back to the technology. This
Yes.
AI is not a technology conversation. It's first of all like a business conversation.
Yeah, good. So let's go there for a minute, and I think this falls in the sort of human augmentation, generally not human replacement. But
Correct.
what are a couple, two or three that you've seen good, successful deployments with good returns on the investment?
Yeah, I can go to a couple of examples, but I
Yeah.
think one of the opportunities is just personal productivity and team productivity.
Yeah.
And we made a lot of investments in our Copilot technology, have both for consumers, free on the web, as well as our work Copilot to really help like augment productivity and take people out of doing mundane tasks.
Yeah.
I think everybody, when you go through your workday, and like how much time do you spend on activities that you know could be automated, but it's just it takes too much time, and so you do it by yourself. But it's so have we. Our goal is really to drive personal productivity, and if you think about the first generation of Copilot, it was really like prompt based. You had to ask a question or to ask certain tasks to be automated, and then it clearly helped you. And we had a number of great examples, both in like finding information, but one of the things that I do a lot is that I travel a lot for work. And so you're always like 2-3 days behind an email. First thing I do when I'm back on my laptop is say, Copilot, summarize my last emails of the last 3 days. What are the top 5 things I should look into? And then it immediately gives you like a nice summary. And so you don't feel the guilt of going through like 500 emails. You can focus on those 5 or 10 things that Copilot outlines. So that is kind of like the prompt-based interaction. Where innovation is going now is also agency-based, and where you can really start thinking about building Copilot agents that really become proactive. So think about, instead of you asking Copilot to summarize your email, it knows that you traveled in the last 2 days. And the moment you log on, is like, hey, do you want a summary? And so it starts to really interact with you, know your priorities, and learn from the data, the interactions that you have, and become much more a proactive support process into your work life.
Got it. Interesting. And what about, so I get that on the personal level. What about on
Yes.
sort of the corporate level? Are there processes or departments or or methodologies that we use within those departments that have been very ripe? And I guess it falls in this mundane sort of repetitive task environment. But
Yeah.
what have you seen for the wins? Is it finance? Is it HR? Is it, give us
Yeah,
a couple of,
it's
and give us a
kind
couple
of
examples.
Yeah, it's kind of we do a lot with sales organizations on AI, and that is really like becoming significantly smarter about the data they have about their customers. And so, how do you filter high propensity accounts based on signals that you're getting across your whole organization? And
Yeah.
so, like sales efficiency, sales leadership, sales management is a huge opportunity for AI. We see a lot of clearly with process in manufacturing, and leveraging AI for optimization of supply chains, and be smart, look signals of the market to predict demand and make sure that the supply is like aligned to it. In finance, it's a lot about fraud prevention that we're working on. And so AI is amazing in like looking at a significant amount of unstructured data and finding the signals or the opportunities or the risks in that data that is unstructured. And so and you can think about any business, and you can immediately start outlining the opportunities where AI can have a leap forwards if it's applied in the right way.
Interesting. And I had a friend who did work on AI in the auditing process, right? So you think about accountants come in, and historically they've done a statistical sample to try to find fraud, but it's like poking a darning needle through a watermelon and hoping you hit a seed. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. You don't know.
Yeah.
Or you could say, let me load all the data into the AI and say, point to me the top 1% anomalies in the patterns, and I'll go test those instead. And now it's a much
Yes.
more refined process. So yeah, I could see that gets better outcome, better fraud detection, and so forth. And we've had a couple of clients that have had embezzlement. And boy, I bet they wish they had AI looking over their numbers, to
100%. Yeah.
put the flag up. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the other area that I should absolutely call out, of course, is healthcare. The
Yeah.
opportunities of AI to look at like information across like a vast domain of different patients,
Yeah.
and really start seeing patterns that we would absolutely not be able to do as a human, with that level of speed. And of course, there's also breakthrough in like recognition of X-rays, and clearly this is all augmented. And where the goal here is not that we are replacing doctors, so we don't have a doctor or looking at your X-ray, but it's really helping AI to recognize things that are maybe harder to see with the naked eye.
Yep. Perfect. So let's move for a second over to major account wins. So what approach do you use when you're trying to win, just from a sales point of view? What methodology, what approach do you use, and does your team use when you're thinking about trying to win major accounts? So it's something all CEOs worry about. Are my sales processes effective? So obviously you've got a great offer in a very hot space, but still you have to win the client, right? So what methodology, what approach do you guys use?
Yeah, we often start with envisioning. If you think about the AI being a business-led like transformation, it's envisioning. And so clearly you have to be able to get to the table. But if you're at the table with the board or the CEO or a business leader, it starts with an envisioning like exercise. That can be a few hours, or even like 2 days. And we run these envisioning workshops. We have an executive briefing center in Redmond, and we bring in around 2,000 customers a year to come to Redmond, where we often do like hours of envisioning with the right from Microsoft, the right people from the customer, and really look at like where's the industry going, where does the customer have opportunities, and how can technology benefit? And it really starts with identifying 2 or 3 business opportunities that then have to be scoped out at a later stage.
Got it. So once you get them excited about that future vision, I think the selling gets kind of easy, right?
Yeah. Of course, you have to look into ROI and the cost that it brings, but it's you. If you have that alignment and that partnership, you can start really working out on the next steps, the plan, and start scoping the project. With the customer. And so we look for that partnership. It's not like we want to sell our technologies and then see what the customer does with it. And that's maybe what I think a lot happened in the IT business maybe 20 years ago, but it's really much more of creating that partnership with the customer, where we think about out of the box scenarios. And so we also have a team at Microsoft for our largest accounts that is working with customers to support building their own AI models. And so it's not just that we have this thing and then we try to have the customer fit to the thing that we're trying to sell. We really want to have these partnerships with our largest customers where we create a new opportunities and build like a new AI model specific for their business as well as for their industry.
Got it. Yeah, we had a fellow on a couple of weeks ago. He talked about the rise of small language models rather than large language models to solve very point problems.
Correct.
They're not going to write your email for you, but they can solve this particular problem very, very, very well. And I think that was really interesting.
Yeah. I know we have small language models now that can run on your phone. You know? It's kind of amazing to think about that. You have these significant big models that, by the way, take a lot of infrastructure to run. And Microsoft is making billions and billions of dollars investments at this moment in opening data centers around the world to support our AI ambition. And you can see how much we invest in our quarterly reporting. But there's also an opportunity to start scaling it to small form factors for more task-oriented AI versus like general AI. Yeah.
Got it. Interesting. So let's move over to your hobby. How did you get involved in mountain climbing? What was your first mountain?
Yeah, so
you're Dutch, right?
I'm Dutch. Yes.
Not a lot of mountains in the Netherlands.
I know. So maybe that created this passion. It's like you always want what you don't have. Is
that it?
You're always looking for the things that you don't have. But no, I randomly, like a lot of things in life, I had a friend when I was early 20s that climbed mountains. I thought it was interesting. And so I started climbing with him, and I spent a number of summers in my 20s in Switzerland, France, Italy, climbing in the Alps. So that's kind of how it started. And then I wouldn't say I retired from climbing, but you know how it goes. You've got a family and kids and career, and climbing became a little bit of an afterthought. But then in 2007, I moved from Amsterdam to Seattle. And if anybody that has been in state Washington, you have this beautiful volcano in state Washington called Mount Rainier, which is a pretty challenging mountain. It's not an easy to run up. And so when I saw that out of the plane, I thought like, okay, I need to put that on my bucket list.
Yeah.
So I started to do that, climbing Mount Rainier, almost like a yearly thing. Keeping with friends, keeping myself fit, you know, every year you have like a little bit of a physical goal. And so that became a thing by itself. And that kind of like grew from there into higher mountains.
Got it. And so what other significant mountains did you climb? Did you do Denali or any of the other ones in the North of America?
I did Aconcagua in South America.
Oh, you did that one? Yeah. Okay.
And that was for me really a test to see because almost a lot of my mountain climbing was in state Washington, as well as in the Alps. And it's all around the 14,000, 15,000 feet.
It's not that high, really, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's high for a Dutchman, but it's high if you live in South
Well, you started
America.
zero. Everything's high, right?
And one of the things that I really wanted to test myself is like HACE or HAPE are these almost deadly altitude diseases.
Yeah.
And they are
for those, it's a high altitude sickness, but brain and lung.
Yeah, one is getting fluid in your brain, and the other one is getting fluid in your lungs.
Yeah.
And when you have that, your life is immediately in danger.
Yeah.
And so there's still very little data around like what creates these issues, and why some people have no issues at all, and some people are much more sensitive to them. And because I never tested myself really above that 15, 16,000 feet, I thought, okay, I need to, before I sign up for Everest, I want to test myself and see if I have at least like an opportunity to be successful in those altitudes.
Got it. And how high is Aconcagua? I can't remember.
So Aconcagua is, I'm still European in meters. It's 6,980 meters. So that would be 22,000 feet or so, something like that. I can quickly look it up. I should know that, of course. But
yeah, that's all right. I mean, I did years ago with some friends. We did Kilimanjaro, which was 19.3 in feet. So and luckily nobody had any of these issues. So that was encouraging. And so you decided to do Everest. I assume you signed up with an outfitter to do this, right?
Correct. Yes.
And wrote a very large check, right?
Yeah, it's not cheap. No, it's not a cheap adventure. So Everest was for me always like a boy's dream. I know that when I grew up as a kid, and I read the books, I watched the movies, but it was also for me a far away dream. I even think if somebody would ask me like 7, 8 years ago, do you want to climb Everest? That I would have kind of laughed. It would have been a question like, do you like to go to the moon? Yeah. Like, I would love to go to the moon, but I don't know. Like, who do I call NASA or Elon Musk? You know, like what is the steps to get there? And so I really did not have an idea what is the requirements for climbing Everest. And I was lucky that in my adventures on Rainier and some other mountains in state Washington, I met like 2 really experienced Everest climbers. One is a woman called Melissa Arnault. She was the first woman that climbed Everest, the first non-Nepalese woman to climb Everest without supplemental oxygen.
She's got giant lungs, that woman. My gosh.
She's a world athlete. And the second one is Garrett Madison, who became also a friend. And he has his own Everest outfitter, Madison Mountaineering, and very experienced. Like I think he just climbed his 14th time Everest. Wow. So he's the number 2 in the world at this stage. And so meeting them and talking to them, and I got a much better perspective of like what is the plan to get there? What are the steps to take? And so that kind of put me on this journey.
So what kind of fitness regime do you have to go through to be ready?
Yeah, so I trained for approximately 16 to 18 hours a week, for a year to get into Everest shape. I had the advantage that I lived in kind of the suburbs of Seattle, where there is a lot of trails on like 30-40 minutes drive. So with a lot of hiking up mountain with a 50-pound backpack.
Got it. Okay. Just to get the altitude, get the weight, get the legs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Everest, I honestly, I would have, even having it done now, would have trained differently. Everest is not a sprint, and kind of know that. But it's what hit me hard on the Everest is that it's really long days. And while like even climbing Rainier is like 6-7 hours up and down from the camp. Like Everest, you are on your legs for like 12-14 hours a day, and so the wearing out is a big factor.
Yep. So you trekked in from Kathmandu to base camp. Yeah.
Yeah, from Lukla. You fly from Kathmandu to Lukla, and then you start walking into base camp in a week or so, doing some acclimatization hikes.
Yeah. Now the scariest thing for me is the suspension bridges you go across.
Yeah.
No.
I honestly, the first time I stepped on them, I was a little bit concerned. And then when I finished it, there was a herd of jacks, like these big cows going over it. Okay, I thought if they can hold the jacks, they can hold me. So that was kind of like, okay, these things are safe. I'm not that concerned anymore.
As long as you're going the same direction as the yaks, not the opposite direction, right?
You really want to get off the bridge or off the trail when they come by. They're not aggressive, but they really don't have like a good understanding of their size. So they will bump into you if needed.
I was just in Peru, and it's burros there and donkeys, right? And they go, always go to the mountainside, because they won't even notice that they knocked you off the mountain. They won't even notice. So you went the southern route, which is the more popular route, right? From Tibet.
Yeah. South.
And so let's just go. We're kind of getting on the end of time, but and this is a process of yo-yoing up and down to gain acclimatization over time. What was the time from hitting base camp to summiting? How many weeks to do that yo-yoing and get to the top?
Yeah, I climbed Everest in 23. It was a very cold year and very snowy. So and the window to climb was a little bit delayed. So at the end we were 8 weeks in Nepal. So
wow. Well, you've got a generous
6
employer to let you be gone for 2 whole months, right?
I was very grateful. Yes.
Yeah.
That's and 6 weeks above at base camp or above. And that is hard to describe, but being on that altitude, that wears you out.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, you just can't quite get enough oxygen, right? I mean, base camp is almost at the peak of Kilimanjaro, and there was not a lot of air at the top of Kili. So I feel you. Most scary thing that happened to you on the hike?
Most scary. Yeah, I don't know if there was like a specific moment that it was scary. I'm pretty. One thing I think that I realize is a strength of myself is that I can really focus on the things I control and block out things I don't control, which I think is very helpful, because you have to go through, you have to pass a lot of areas where you can be hit by avalanches or by other like issues that you don't control.
Yeah, well, there's nothing you can do.
So I was able to really control. I had pretty good confidence in my own ability, and so that is especially for the technical parts. And I was able to block out things that could go wrong that I couldn't control. So I didn't have a moment where I was scared. The thing that hit me, maybe mostly when I was back, is that being in the dead zone is, although it's like an amazing experience. And it's the views and the feeling that you're on top of the world is, on one hand, is like mind-blowing. On the other hand, it's also a traumatic experience, because you see dead bodies around you, and I've seen more dead bodies than I kind of wanted to see in my
Yeah.
lifetime. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. The death zone for people who are above a certain level, humans can actually not exist for any extended period of time. So you need to kind of get up and get out of the death zone.
Yeah.
Not even crossing the ice fall. That didn't bother you. This is an area where these giant blocks of ice that are slowly moving down the mountain, and they put aluminum ladders across them, and you
Yeah.
climb across these things with crampons, which looks dangerous as heck to me. And that didn't bother you, no?
No, the Kumba Icefall is on. It's a push because you are on that icefall around 8 hours going up,
Wow.
and so 8 hours you're kind of, and it's not like straight up. It's like left, right, up, and then you have to rappel down in a crevasse, and you have to climb out on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's an adventure. I No, there was no moments where I felt like, oh man, this is scary. It is like you are exhausted, and maybe part of the maybe you don't have the energy to be scared because
You're right.
'cause one of the jokes I always make is that when you are on Everest, you lose like 30, 40 IQ points. Like you need all your energy just to to focus on the things that are in front of you, and you don't even have the so much energy to really look around you and see anything that can be dangerous or can hit you.
Got it. There's not other processing going on. You just don't have enough capacity to do so at that time, right?
No, your capacity is really focused on getting your body up that mountain.
Yeah. So tell us about Summit Day real quick. You
Yeah.
woke up early, right? Or late, depends on how you look at it. But
No, we got up relatively early. We started in a snowstorm and blizzard, so that was challenging. We almost like you get it's hard to imagine, but we even walked in the wrong direction initially because
Wow.
we were not, it was dark and snowy and wind, and oh yeah, your mask and your sunglasses are frozen, and so we were hardly able to see where we went to. But then after an hour it cleared out, and we had an amazing day. Almost no wind, blue skies. We
Wow.
also our guides made a bet to go relatively late in the season, but that also helped us that we were almost the only one on the mountain, our team,
Oh,
with a
wow.
few individual climbers. So I was on the summit. I was able to be there close to an hour and a half, and really taking my gloves off, sitting there, really enjoying the scenery and the moment. So we had like at the end we had a unique day to summit.
Very cool. Yeah, that's as long as I've ever heard anybody on the summit. Normally it's 20 minutes, take some pictures, head back down.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
4 weeks of work, 6 weeks of work. It's crazy, but
Yeah, no, we had enough time. By the way, the picture taking is funny, is that I and this is where you had the losing the 30 IQ points comes in, is that it really took me a while to realize that I should take pictures.
yeah.
And I was lucky. So you get buddied up with a Sherpa and Mingmar going to the summit. And I think one of my best decisions in life was that I had a pocket camera and I had my iPhone. I gave my pocket camera to Mingmar, and so I didn't even realize till I came back is that he made videos and pictures of me on the summit day. And on my iPhone, I only shot maybe like 5, 6 pictures the whole day. I just, you're so focused and in the zone that you don't even like realize like, hey, maybe I should make a picture of this thing.
That's something else. Wow. Well, Erwin, this was phenomenal. I'll probably never climb Everest, so I get to live it through people like you. So thank you for sharing all of your insight about the cloud and AI and your adventures on top of the mountain. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me, Jim. And I appreciate it.
Super glad to have you. Thank you very much. And
Awesome.
we'll see everybody the next time on the Lazy CEO podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This podcast is brought to you by the CEO Project. At the CEO Project, we work with CEOs to help them grow their business. And our members represent billions of dollars of revenue and profit. And frankly, amongst all of us, we've probably made every mistake in the book, including some you haven't made yet. So if you want to learn from the experience of a bunch of really seasoned CEOs, we're a great place to hang out. In this podcast, what you're going to hear are some of those ideas, concepts, and things that are just going to help you on your journey. If you want to find out more, reach out to us at theceoproject.com, or you can contact me personally at jim@theceoproject.com. Happy listening.
Thanks for listening to the Lazy CEO podcast. We'll see you next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes, and check out our website, www.theceoproject.com.